I'm going to take the next 6 to 8 minutes to talk about how to progress skills inside of mixed modal workouts. So hopefully you guys can find some good information through this, stuff that you can take back with you, apply, whether you're a coach or an athlete. And to me, one of the biggest mistakes that athletes and coaches make in mixed modal training is assuming that a skill is ready to be placed into a workout simply because the athlete can perform it fresh, right? And frankly, those are not the same thing. Doing 5 muscle-ups in a controlled setting is one skill. Doing 5 muscle-ups after heavy deadlifts, a hard row, thrusters, wall balls where accumulated fatigue is occurring, well, that's a completely different skill. Yeah, the movement looks the same, but the system supporting it has changed. And that is what I'm going to try to break down today. How do we properly train skills inside of mixed modal workouts? Now, not just how to perform the skill itself, but how to develop it so the athlete can assess it, repeat it, and maintain it under different qualities, different levels of fatigue, right? So we're going to break down the what, why, and the when, and the how around all this. Now, we got to think too, like, what are we actually training? An important thing to keep in mind when working with athletes around developing skills. So when we talk about skills in mixed modal training, we're talking about movements that require meaningful amount of coordination, timing, strength, control, and efficiency. That could be muscle ups, handstand walking, toes to bar, handstand push-ups, rope climbs, double unders, Olympic lifts, even higher skill cyclical work, right? The key is understanding that there's several different versions of the skill. You have skill acquisition, you have skill capacity, you have skill repeatability, and there's skill expression under fatigue. Those are all separate qualities. Skill acquisition is the ability to learn and perform the movement correctly. Skill capacity is how much total work the athlete can perform. Skill repeatability is the ability to reproduce quality sets over time. And skill expression under fatigue is the athlete's ability to maintain the movement once other systems begin to break down. So a lot of programs skip straight to that last one, right? An athlete learns a few muscle-ups and suddenly they're thinking, I got to be able to do more tired. I got to just do more, right? And that's really why development stops for a lot of people, right? That's just exposure. Exposure can tell you whether an athlete is ready, but exposure can't alone does not guarantee progress. And why does this matter? Well, skills in mixed modal sports do not exist in isolation, right? They're influenced by strength, local muscular endurance, breathing, grip, pacing, movement efficiency, and the exercises surrounding them. An athlete may not fail muscle-ups because their muscle-up technique is poor. They may fail because they're pulling endurance support. They may fail because their grip was overworked with the different movements that it's paired with. They may fail because machine work pushed them above a sustainable metabolic intensity and they can't catch their breath. They may fail because their set size is too aggressive on the first round. This is why coaches really need to understand the difference between a skill limiter and a system limiter. If the athlete cannot perform the movement when fresh, the skill itself may be the issue. If they can perform the movement fresh, but it breaks down quickly in a workout, then that's a system issue that we have to address. And we have to think about it. Is it strength endurance? Is it breathing? Is it grip? Is it shoulder fatigue? Is it interference from another movement? Is it poor pacing? The answer determines the training solution. So without that understanding, coaches often make athletes do more of the exact thing that is already failing. It's not fixing anything. More failed muscle-ups, more missed handstand walks, more ugly toe to bar, more unrhythmic chest bar pull-ups under fatigue, right? And that's not going to improve the skill itself. It just teaches the athletes to practice poor positions under higher levels of fatigue. So when should skills be placed in mixed modal workouts? A skill should be placed in a workout when the athlete has enough foundational ability to maintain quality. That does not mean the movement has to be perfect all the time. It means that the athlete has enough control that fatigue will challenge the skill without completely destroying it. So before placing a skill into a mixed modal work, I want to see a few things. First, the athlete should have a stable technical composition to what they're doing. They should understand the movement and be able to reproduce it without needing constant correction, especially when they're adding it in more intensity and volume is starting to creep in. Be able to coach and instruct and have them correct it. They should understand the movement and be able to reproduce it without needing constant correction. And they need a reserve, right? If an athlete's max set of strict handstand push-ups is 8, program repeated sets of 7 inside a workout, that's not skill development, right? That is testing the ceiling over and over and over again. The athlete needs room between their maximal capacity and their working sets. Third, they need consistency. One successful set does not mean the skill is ready. Can they repeat it across multiple sets? Can they do it on different days? Can they do it with different muscular contraction, dynamic contraction pairings? And then fourth, the cost of failure has to be controlled. right? Can they perform it when they're slightly fatigued without completely changing mechanics? These are all things that we need to be looking at, right? So now how should we train these skills? Well, the first step is to train the skill in isolation. This is where the athlete learns positions, timing, rhythm, and efficiency. The goal is not fatigue, the goal is quality. That's what we have to keep in mind. Repetition should stop before there's any sort of mechanical breakdown or decline. Once the skill becomes more stable, we can begin to add controlled fatigue. This is where exercise selection becomes extremely important for the person you're working with. The first exercise paired with the skill should create predictable and manageable challenge. For example, if we're developing total bar repeatability, pairing it with easy bike work may allow us to challenge breathing without creating excessive grip or hip flexor fatigue, depending upon the person. This is very different than pairing toes bar with heavy deadlifts, rope climbs, squats, dumbbell squats, squat cleans, etc. Right? So we have to think about the pairing. Both workouts contain toes of bar, but the stimulus and limitations are completely different, right? And this is what we need to think about in regards to the interference effect. If two movements stress the same local tissue, grip pattern, or joint action, the skill may break down faster. That may eventually be appropriate, but it should not always be the starting point, and it definitely should not be the starting point, right? Depending upon the person and their level of where they're coming to. We can progress skill integration across several stages. Stage 1 is isolated skill practice. Stage 2 is skill work with low interference cyclical work. Stage 3 is skill work with moderate metabolic fatigue. Stage 4 is skill work paired with a movement that creates local muscular interference. And stage 5 is skill expression inside of a competition style mixed modal workout. Each stage should prepare the athlete for the next stage, phase potentiation, which is something that we talk about all the time. We build the qualities that allow the athlete to tolerate greater complexity later. Another important variable is set size. Sometimes progress means doing smaller sets more consistently, right? If an athlete can perform 10 unbroken chest bar pull-ups but cannot repeat that set, then that may not be the correct working number for them, right? So 5 sets of 6 with controlled rest may create a more valuable volume and better movement quality than repeated attempts at 10. The goal is not to show the athletes maximal. The goal is to expand what they can repeat. Density is another useful tool. We can keep the total repetitions the same by gradually reducing the total time needed to complete them. Right? For example, an athlete may start at 5 muscle-ups every 2 minutes, then every 90 seconds, then 75 seconds, eventually doing that every minute on the minute, right? So the movement itself has not changed. The athlete's ability to recover and repeat it has changed drastically, and this increases and improves their ability to perform. A skill placed at the beginning of workout tests freshness and execution. The same skill placed after machine tests involves breathing and recovery. Placed after heavy pull, it tests grip and local fatigue. Placed at the end, it tests composure and technical retention. So the placement also needs to match where you are and what sort of limit you're trying to improve for that athlete. So what should coaches watch for, right? Do not only track whether the athlete completed the repetitions. Watch how those repetitions are completed. Did the athlete's rhythm change? Did their rest increase? Did their movement pattern become less efficient? Did they begin over pulling? Did their kick become larger? Did their breathing become disorganized? Did they lose the ability to make good decisions? Those details tell you more than the score alone, right? A workout can be completed successfully while still revealing poor skill management. And we need to determine whether the limiting factor was technical, physical, or strategic, right? And that's how progress is really built inside the skill sets of mixed modal sports. So in closing, skill in mixed modal sports, mixed modal workouts should not be programmed randomly. We know that, right? I hope we know that. They should be developed through proper progression for that person. We need to learn the movement. We need to build capacity. We need to build repeatability, then learn to express it under different forms of fatigue. It's a coach's job to control the levels of complexity, manage interference, choose the right set size, and understand what is actually causing the movement to break down. The best athletes are not simply athletes with the highest skill ceiling. They're the athletes who can assess their skills repeatedly, efficiently, and under pressure. That ability is built. It comes from intelligent progression, thoughtful exercise selection, and understanding exactly what the athlete needs at each stage of development. So don't rush through this. Build a system that allows them to own it when it actually matters. Hope you guys found this insightful, helpful. As always, give us a follow, like, share, leave a comment. Let me know if there's anything specific you want me to speak about. See you guys in the next one.